we're going to run a short video, and then I'm going to make some introductions for our next guest.
I can't believe it. Here we are.
When she finally walks into the restaurant, hate to say it, but I knew it, I was already gone. Oh, Benny, don't do it, you're breaking her heart. Benny, don't do it, Benny, don't do it. I'm sorry you're here for someone else. It's good to see your face, and I really hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry I'm here for someone else. I know you wish that I could stay and talk at the bar all by ourselves, but I'm here for someone else. I'm still in love with you. I'm going out of my mind. I couldn't take it anymore. I was already running for the kitchen doors. You were always the one I should have waited for. I can't lose you again, not again, not again, not again.
Awesome. So I'm going to do some quick intros. On my left here is George Gilder, who I referenced earlier. George is the chairman of Gilder Publishing, located in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, co-founder of Discovery. George is a senior fellow of the Center on Wealth and Poverty. George is a best-selling author of over 30 books. I referenced Life After Google on economics, technology, and society. An avid runner. Like, he's twice my age, and he runs way further than me. We've got to give him extra Buckeye stickers for that, okay? He holds the age group records in road racing events. So that might be your greatest accomplishment. There we go. Let's see, the gentleman on his left needs no introduction as well, but he's the current CEO of TKO Group Holdings. You know, create what we know today as WME, William Morris Endeavor. As a millennial, for all the millennials out there, this is the RE, like from Entourage. I was E, just so you guys know. This is the RE. I think George could be like maybe like a Johnny Drama or something like that, if that's fair.
He doesn't have the calves for that.
That's what's true. And he's not as dumbfounded as Johnny either. So this is your second time to COSM, Ari.
Right. Yes.
So very good to have you.
San Francisco last time.
Yeah. So let's see. First question I want to ask, because I think I know why, but I don't think you've ever asked this question to the audience to answer the audience. How do you know this guy? What originally attracted you to his thinking? Was it his writing? Was there a book?
So I was at ICM, International Creative Management, which was an agency that I left to start the company. And about a year into me being an agent there, I don't know how I got a hold of this book, but I got a hold of Life After Television.
We sent it to everybody.
Right. So I'm reading the book. It was a short book, actually.
Yeah.
And it talked about infinite distribution and content being multiple things and the price of content going up. And then I'm looking at my market, and there was 4 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox had just started. And there was conversation about Warner Brothers starting a network and Paramount starting a network, CW and WB. And it kind of related to George's book. And I just realized, you know, something with, you know, just supply and demand. I got an economics degree. That if I started an agency, I could put a lot more television shows on the air and make a lot more money than they were offering me. And so from that book, in 1995, on my birthday, March 29th, I started the agency because of George. So he's not getting any money from me, but he's the one that started this whole process. So, but and almost all my interviews, I talk about how George, throughout my career, has really, because I bug him all the time, and he gives me insights of, you know, 6 Wi-Fis, the next thing I've been reading about because of George, and kind of thinking about the world in a different way. When we have very heated conversations in a good way about AI and et cetera.
It's the entrepreneurial spearhead of the Emanuel family.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah.
Without Ari, we wouldn't know about Ram. And, but
So that's how I know.
and he's entrepreneurial. He sold me these shoes. Or he gave me these shoes. No, I haven't had to tie my shoelaces ever since my last meeting
There you go.
with our Under Armour.
So
But what really interests me today is everybody's talking about real things dissolving in the mists of artificial intelligence. And you're a leading vendor and promoter of real experiences. And do you see signs that real events and ultimate fighting and all these
Well, here's what
kinds of direct experiences are growing apace with AI?
Well, here's what, let's just, there's two situations. So in the movie and television business, first of all, I believe AI is the greatest average. That AI does not make Larry David. Larry David can utilize AI to make, or other writers or other directors or other people. So what will happen, I believe, is what they refer to as below the line and maybe other things in film production and television production and social production. The cost will go down to very little.
cost of production.
And so I was just actually having this conversation with somebody at one of the streamers. They'll just make more. And so I think that's probably the bet at Paramount, that content is going to go up. There's going to be a lot more content. The costs are going to come down. And so that will be having. I witnessed it on a movie recently, and writers writing outlines using AI and not having to have writers' rooms, really great creators. Maybe the guilds won't want to hear this, but I think that's happening now, right? And we're going to have to confront that issue. And the large language models are stealing a bunch of content right now. And if you look at Sora 2, you have to write them
Number one country song.
Right. So that's going to happen. But I've made a bet recently. So with TKO, I have the UFC, the WWE, bull riding. I have live sports. I think there's going to be live music. I don't think AI can get in the way of that. Maybe it can enhance it by people that are passed away in music and then coming back to life, maybe. And then I just started a business called Mari, which is live events, which is the opposite of music. It's live events, whether it be Freeze Art Fair or my tennis tournaments or participatory sports. Because if you believe AI is coming, and Netherlands just said there's a 4-day work week officially, there'll probably be for government for full employment, probably 3-day work weeks, probably in the future. I don't know if it's 5 years from now, 7 years, 3 years. That means there's more free time, and humans are social animals. They're going to have to do stuff. And I don't believe AI, the opposite bet of AI is not data centers, it's live, in my opinion. Yeah. And so I think the live experience, sports, whatever it is, I think is going to flourish in a significant way.
So that would be, to put your lens on it. So that's why WWE, that's why UFC.
Correct.
Because it's something that not only can you
say what these acronyms?
Yeah, like World Wrestling Entertainment,
Right.
and then United or
William Morris and
No. So it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
yeah, Ultimate Fighter Championship.
PBR is bull riding.
Yep.
And so yeah, those are my businesses.
Yeah, and to George's point, William Morris Endeavor is WME, the agency you built.
Right.
So because that's you're doing two things, and I want to ask you this question: is that because anything else might not have a connection? To your point, like I could go to a concert.
Right.
So like the LA Forum, Tate McRae. I had a colleague that we went out and did that. That's an experience, right? Buy the T-shirt, do everything like that, and then you're building off of those experiences.
So we have the events. We then also have, because I think there's going to be a lot more money in the world because of AI and robotics, we have high-end experiences. So we create experiences. We own the rights to the Super Bowl. We we kind of have the rights to FIFA, meaning high-end experiences that people want. Wimbledon, the Olympics. So when somebody gets involved with us, and the company that I own is called On Location, we can cater to the high end, like you want to go on the field for the Super Bowl, you want to be on the field after they win, you want to be on the 50-yard line, all these kind of high-end experiences, which I think are going to be more and more required for a select group of people. Not that other people are not just going to want a ticket and a T-shirt in a hotel room, but there's many different levels of it, and that's what we do.
You want to jump in, George, or I got another one if you want.
Let's go.
Okay. Other off that, scale is always important. John Malone just came out with his book. I'm sure you probably read it.
Yep.
You know John, I assume really well. Born to be Wired, highly recommend. You're gonna get a lot of book recommendations this week too, by the way. Scale is important.
Yeah.
Scale has dominated the industry.
Yeah.
How do you think about the scale of, say, the past, right? The television scale, the content distribution via cable, and what came with the internet. What do you see scale being in the future? I think YouTube TV is now the biggest aggregator out there.
Yep.
As an example, where are we going in scale, and are we going back to the YouTube TV swap me for some content equity, or is that we're going back to the
Well, I
old
think
model?
what you're going to have, I don't think the linear business is going away. It'll probably get down to linear, like ABC, NBC, CBS, USA Network. I don't believe that's going away. A lot of sports leagues have made deals, the NFL, and we've made deals with the traditional businesses, and we've also made deals with the streamers. So those deals are, anywhere from 5 to 10 years. So they're not going away. Do I think their reach is going to go down by a significant amount? It's already gone down by a significant amount. I don't know where the bottom is, but I don't believe it's going away in the next 10 years. You now are going to have, depending on the Warner Brothers transaction.
Which is impending right now, just so everybody knows. That's talk every day right now.
So you'll have 4 to 5 major players. Let's just say Warner Brothers. I don't believe that Warner Brothers goes to an Amazon or Netflix. They will be at, if they do that on the streaming side, 51%. I don't believe the government's going to permit that. So let's just say it goes to Paramount or Comcast. You'll have 4 big players on that side, plus YouTube that doesn't pay for content, makes deals for license for football and other things. That's a pretty good world where there'll be all of them at approximately 175 million subs to 300 million subs. And when you have 5 bidders, you can make some really great deals. And I think that for the entertainment side, that will be the world until, if we go back, let's just say the cost of production, like the music business, drops to 0. What stops, and let's just say he's right, as he told me about a year ago, 6 Wi-Fi is coming. And Dwayne Johnson has over 200 million people on his social platform. And he can either license, buy, or create in his, and that's what we have to adapt to. A television show, a movie, and the television show is not what we all think it is, a half hour, an hour. Maybe it's 15 minutes. Or he can put on a sporting event, et cetera, because there's a lot of different ones out there. And he can create his own Netflix. Then it becomes a very interesting world in the next, I don't know, George will tell us when 6 Wi-Fi is coming.
World of superabundance.
Yeah, superabundance. And I think that world is actually coming, especially if the cost of production nets to very close to 0. And then it's the wild, wild west. We, as William Morris, have to adapt, which we did on the sports side, to servicing clients that have that engagement to create networks for them that go to their brands and to their following. That's a crazy world. That would be great.
So we're going to go back to the platforms. I
think the platforms exist for a long time, but the scenario I said, world of abundance, could happen like if Sora and these large language models and become, if energy gets there and a bunch of other factors happen, the cost of production is going to almost nothing except for talent. And you can probably create a lot of talent that doesn't exist now. You'll get trouble with deals. So if that's the case, what's stopping Mark Wahlberg or this one or that one from licensing, put it on their platform, and creating their own network? I don't know much that's stopping them. I don't know what you think, George.
I think that value will migrate to real things and real events.
Yeah.
That's the result of superabundance, is that actual real events, real relationships
Matter.
become more valuable and more vital, and are the spearhead of our lives on the planet.
Now, I want to ask you a question because George and I have this fight all the time. Not to take over your job here, but George always says to me, technology is never not created more jobs, right?
What's that?
Technology has never not created more jobs,
Human flourishing.
right? You say that. Now, do you believe with, let's just take OpenAI. I think their commitments for data centers is at $1.2 trillion or $1.4 trillion. That's just them. The only way to pay for that level of investment is, in the math I'm doing, is to cut labor, not increase labor. So how will you, this is the first time technology may take jobs. Do you agree or disagree?
No.
Why?
I think that the reason people work is because they become more productive.
No, but
You
will there?
hire people because they're less productive. You hire people because they're more productive. You have more work for people who are more creative and.
Yeah, but that will be only one group of people. There's no way to get $1.2 trillion of spend without cut. What do we? I think the workforce is 160 million people in the United States.
The real money is ultimately time, and so we're proliferating money in all directions, but the time remains a remorseless and rigorous constraint on everything we do, even you, and so
That sucks.
and so thinking in terms of money is deceptive today when money is just being printed synthetically all around the globe.
Elon Musk just
broken away from its roots in the passage of time, and
Elon Musk just said money will no longer exist in the future. Well, so
But he has multiple wives, so there's a lot of theories out there. So I want to ask on George's, the idea of money being a tokenization of time. Okay, that's a great framework for thinking about this. Technologies are always adopted when they're vastly, they're vast in quantity and they're cheap in price. So let's use that number you just threw out, $1.3 trillion.
that's just for OpenAI
Okay.
for the data center.
And let's say this is a terribly asset-light business, okay, which some would argue that debate. But a good asset-light business might produce 25% pre-tax returns on capital.
Okay.
Okay, so to your point, how many times you got to sell that, I guess is my question, and the question is at what price? That you're back to your
I don't know. I mean, I just think it's the only way to take his comments off the table. The only way to recoup that amount of investment across Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Oracle, Meta, et cetera, you have to cut the labor force. And that's a scary notion. It's the first time I don't think technology creates jobs. Now, I will still employ people because people are going to want to do stuff and they're going to want to be social animals, exactly what he says. I agree with that. I think there's a lot of people fucked in the future. I can see it in my industry.
So let's go back to history, and so in the Orwellian sense, okay, you're saying there's a lot of Luddites that could potentially be out there.
Yep.
If we go back to the transition from the Great Depression, we had 30% of our economy in agriculture at one point. By the time we got to the 1970s, it was 3%.
Right.
Okay. So you're saying that we have one of those great changes from an agrarian to a post-information society, whatever that we want to call that. But you're arguing that like all the computer science degrees we just minted out over the last decade are as good as the $40,000 that they walked into their first job with.
Maybe not. I don't know if there's going to be computer scientists in the future. Now, there's going to be thinkers that, probably with the AI help kind of create new models. I don't know how long they're going to exist. If you talk to certain people, not George, they're not going to need to exist in the future. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong, George? Yes.
I think that human creativity shouldn't be disparaged. I think it's irrepressible ultimately. I'm a runner, as we've said, and there are since when I started, there were 47 people in the New York City Marathon, and I came in 7th back then, and that was 60 years ago or something.
How many now are running in the New York Marathon?
What?
How many now are running in the New York Marathon?
Now there are, what is it, 30,000, 40,000?
Yeah.
I've run in races around the country, all with thousands of.
Okay, but that doesn't have nothing to do with $1 trillion spend. But here's what I would say to you:
that's real stuff. It reflects your insight.
I agree with that.
The desire for.
I'm not going to be in trouble. My live going to be good.
Yeah, you're hedged.
Yeah. So, but here's it. If my first statement was true, that AI is the greatest average, then I do believe there is a place for human involvement to, because it's X's and O's, so I do believe there's a place for it. I'm just nervous that there's not enough of those people, and a lot of people will be disintermediated.
Let me try to marry.
Not that I want to be too woke here.
Yeah. Let me try and marry what you're saying with George, because you said it's a cost of production. It's going to come down.
Yep.
Okay. So if I'm going to, channel my inner George Gilder, I would say, but Ari, based on that, the profitability from existing enterprises are going to fund the future great reaches of society and civilization, because ultimately profitability and entrepreneurship drives all creativity and ingenuity and ultimately profit seeking in its newest form.
Okay. I mean, that's one conclusion.
And you're attesting that you find lots of opportunities.
Oh, no. I'm not nervous about Ari Emanuel. That's not my nervousness. My nervousness is, I've got 4 kids. I don't know about the rest of you. What do we teach our kids? What lessons are we teaching our kids? What areas should they be going into? How should they be thinking about it? It's a hard conversation, and they're asking me for the first time.
Well, let me ask you a question on that. We're kind of known as an oral tradition right now, right? Where it's like the podcast is big, reading books. I mean, that's what the Luddites do, Ari. How do you have that conversation with your kids? Like I tell my kids, like, if you can't read, you're not going to succeed in the future. Because your point, someone, giving Brutus's speech in Julius Caesar is as important to live and in the moment as it's ever been, because the fewest number of people can actually do that in society today. Is that how you think about it?
Here's how I do it. I send my kids articles that I think are interesting, that are of nothing that they would read. Yeah. I send them books that I think that are important for them to read, and I force conversations over dinner. So that's, and then you just get into the conversations of what they want to do and help them think through it, and then let them loose, and hopefully they can make it. So, but I do think that we are going to enter a period of time where you are going to be able to choose if you do nothing or if you work. I don't know if that's in 10 years. And if that's the case, you know, what's life about? Maybe I'm wrong. You know, I mean, I get great fulfillment out of my work. I want to make sure society does its thing. And I think that's the challenge for governments and people, and I'm not sure governments are up to it right now.
You want
George doesn't want to answer that. We're on the other side of politics.
George is the worker, right?
As Cole was saying, you know,
I think I'm depressing the audience here.
I think this is.
Sorry, I didn't
break
mean
out
to.
the
I
drink
just
soon.
got off a plane.
I think this is a moment echoing the change when not 30%, but 90% of all people in America were farmers. And they had to work to feed themselves. And transition at that point must have been really hard to imagine. I mean, here, what people did in life was go out into the fields and rake and plow and grow the food to sustain the next generation, and that was life. And there was a few elites off in the side who could pursue intellectual pursuits, but essentially we were an agricultural.
Yeah, we made the
society.
transition.
We're now at the peak of the digital age, and I think that you know, I'm going to be talking later today about the proliferation of wafer scale creativity and beyond chips, and we can't. It's that change is going to be as big and as promising as the change from agriculture to, and it's achieved by the incredible, just as agriculture got incredibly efficient, we could feed people in a few minutes a day rather than a few hours. Now all the digital functions of the society will plummet to virtually zero. And people will be emancipated for new forms of creativity that's hard to even imagine. But
I'm praying you're right.
This is the human cause. And this whole idea that AI will somehow replace us, we won't do it if it replaces us. We aren't going to... AI will amplify us. We'll be able to pursue more opportunities and less time, and thus have richer and more exciting and longer lives. I think that's what...
I hope you're right.
Yeah.
I want that to be true.
Superabundance.
Superabundance. Okay, I love that.
So
We got a question here.
well, actually, I want to go to another question on time, because I think
Yeah.
a big function of this is time. Let's say you're right, and that happens over 50 years.
I'm going to be less than that.
Okay, but just, you know, a lot
Okay,
of
I'll take
functions of
50.
time, right? So, you know, we go into the Great Depression that hastened us. We sent people west. They end up in the Dust Bowls. They keep going west. It was hastened by the events. Is this, you know, is this your 5-year view? Is this your 10-year view? Or if
I think it's 5 years.
okay.
Yeah. Now, remember, there's a numerator and a denominator. The numerator is the technology and all the large language models, et cetera. The denominator is power. Now, are we going to space and, you know, kind of solar panel, and you know, you don't have to cool it and all that other stuff?
Sure.
Or are we doing it down here? You know, if we don't get the denominator right, all this is like crap, you know, and that will be the next form. You're going to have to overcome that issue, especially in the States. And you'll probably go to space to do
Sure.
that.
Well, one last question, since you're going Elon's route as the last before we maybe take some questions. How do you look at X? just in full disclosure, Ari, and my colleagues can attest this, I'm an X degenerate. Get a lot of content there, get a lot of my comedy there, post. How do you think about that platform? It kind of follows like a YouTube TV platform, or I should say YouTube platform. Are there other platforms that are going to crop up? Or are those the dominant platforms of that kind of content?
I think X is probably a pretty dominant platform. YouTube's a pretty dominant platform. We'll see if Spotify hits social, which I think they're trying to do now. So maybe that will be an additional one. He's going to have to improve the advertising system inside X. You're probably going to have to do LRAPs, which he hasn't done yet, and you're probably going to have to be able to look at it, and they'll do this with XAI,
Sure.
and be able to shop on there and do some other stuff,
Sure.
and that will be a lot of his technology.
But when,
Yeah.
when Cam Scattaboo and the rest of the Giants are at the UFC match this week and they're promoting your live events, that's a great platform that
no,
feeds
it's
right
great.
back to you.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, I think it's one of the 2 or 3 majors, and I think if he looked back at it, he probably was he was pretty aggravating having to pay $46 billion. I think now he thinks he stole it. I think.
Maybe leave it to one last question. I referenced this earlier, but John Malone's stepping down from his role. Someone you've done a lot with in the past. As you think back, and as I was going through his book, I was laughing to myself. I just thought of like someone putting an antenna up on a hill in the middle of godforsaken America and running cables down to houses, and everyone had better free-to-air TV. And that became the cable business. And that became ultimately the coax business, and then turned to the fiber business.
Yes.
And now we have, to your point, the Comcasts of the world. We have the Charters of the world, et cetera. Cable One, who's local here, is also in that. How do you see the hardware, the old line hardware, as Mike Fries used to say, the fixed mobile convergence? And we now do have that. Most of our content is taken via our phone. And advertising's via our phone. Where do you see the distribution of that going?
Well, not going back to Elon, but I think if AI is, coming fast, I think broadband's in trouble, especially with Starlink. And then
Starlink's great, by the way.
And then you're going to
Fantastic.
link up Starlink, into your AI or any other satellite provider. So I think it's going that way. And I think the fixed line, et cetera, here is like the linear business now. I think you're going to see a downward curve in that conversation.
Okay.
I'm not telling you to sell any of the companies. When you're looking at, he's going to have it linked up at Starlink on the AI and the power, et cetera, and then coming back down to you. That's a pretty kind of dynamic conversation that he's about to have with people.
I'm gonna close with this. I'm gonna thread what you said real quick,
I'm
Ari.
sorry, we're not going to have time for another question.
I'm gonna thread what you said real quick with George. Okay. George, your human flourishing is right. So to follow on what you said, Ari, I do a trip. I go to Death Valley every year. At some point in the year, I take this big Ford excursion. Petromasculinity is what I call it. But I have a Starlink on top. So at 7,000 feet in the middle of Death Valley, what are we doing? Whatever the heck we want. Okay? Which
You're
is
watching anything you want. You're talking to anybody in the world. I'm about to get in my plane. I'm going to fly over the water. I'm going to have 5 Zooms. Done. And it's perfect, as if I'm in my office.
And you're getting more done, and we're flourishing.
Correct.
So with that, I think we'll end it.
Way to close. Ari, you are in demand in Hollywood, in the country, and globally, and you taking the time to join us on stage.
Oh, please. I would do anything for
Great.
this man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything for George.
You are great.
Okay.